So I guess a short update is due. It's been a while since I made a video. I made a few notes here. For this video, I just want to discuss a few things. Number one, I think it's going to be pretty cool to kind of let go of the theory development. Let go of it a lot more than what I was used to before. And not to really think about it all too much and just sort of focus on life stuff now, family stuff. Celeste and I have a baby girl on the way, so that's gonna be a journey. Hi, Celeste. And I don't know, I guess it's been almost 10 years coming up in September that I've known about this discovery. I've known about this theory, the theory that planets are actually older stars. There was never such thing as planet. But that being said, letting go of it kind of feels a little good. Feels a little better because it's less of a mental weight in my head. So I can focus on other things with more vigor, if you will. I can work on the house more. I can focus better at work. I can focus on my family a lot more. And that's definitely a plus. I know there are a lot of people out there that focus on their careers more than their own families or their own personal health, which is really bad. And that happens to a lot of people, and they just lose track of the really important stuff because they focus on specific ideas or their career too much, and it just leads to being a workaholic. It leads to absent-mindedness, and it leads to a less fulfilling life in the long run. When you neglect very important relationships with people and yourself, then it's all downhill from there. So I think letting go of this theory is definitely, it's freeing. It's definitely freeing. Speaking of Pierre-Marie Robitaille, I know he had a little video go up concerning the 4-year anniversary of his channel called Sky Scholar. Now, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he talks about, but I did notice that he mentioned in that 4-year anniversary video that after August, September timeframe, when he gets the rest of his own ideas worked out there, he's going to start working on stellar evolution. And he specifically mentioned the current stellar evolution models as being mental gymnastics. And that's a good topic to discuss real quick. Mental gymnastics, and I found 2 definitions of that. Quote, all thoughts that are within play to keep you from doing the exact thing you need to do. Or, here's another definition, inventive complex arguments used to justify what is otherwise unjustifiable. So it's basically, if you see something wrong, like what a lot of media does these days, is they do mental gymnastics. I don't mean to go all political here, but I just have to mention this because I was like, what the hell, media is like out of control. There was a woman, I would say woman because she was holding a knife and attempting to literally stab another woman, and she was mid-stab. She was about to stab her in the neck or in the upper torso region, and a police officer shot her, to neutralize the threat. Deadly force met with deadly force kind of thing. But the media, they jump into mental gymnastics by saying, well, the cop should have used his taser or, some other hopping and jumping all over the place to not basically justify the fact that the cop just saved that young woman's life. But instead of saving the woman's life who was about to get stabbed to death, it's the cop kills the other woman. They never mention that the other woman just had her life saved by the police officer. So that's what I'm talking about, mental gymnastics. When a very clear cut answer to something is completely overlooked and is replaced with incredibly complex, inventive arguments that completely avoid the issue. And I've noticed that with a lot of astrophysics papers and ideas, instead of directly addressing the issues that need to be addressed, they engage in mental gymnastics. They make a whole bunch of weird things true, which are just completely unnecessary. And if they would just go back to the original claims and just correct them, they wouldn't have to do mental gymnastics. And in particular, what they engage in, I don't know if Pierre is watching this, but it's the mass argument. There's red dwarf mass, there's brown dwarf mass, and there's planet mass. And back before the 1980s, they kind of knew what their masses were. And then 1980s, brown dwarfs came around, they were like, what the hell are these things? And then they measured the masses of them, and they were smaller than red dwarfs. And then post 2000s, when the exoplanets started to be discovered, they were found out to be less massive than brown dwarfs, and some planets had bigger masses than the brown dwarf. So they were just like, well, wait a second, what's going on? And instead of addressing the fact that the mass is clearly lost, they engage in mental gymnastics by stating weird different types of fusion reaction processes. Like, instead of the basic hydrogen fusion process, they now invented the what is it called? The lithium burning process, or the I don't know, some other weird deuterium burning process. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing? Just go back, look at where you made the claims, look at where the assumptions were, and correct them, and then everything should be better. But instead, they're forced to hop, skip, and jump and flip in the air just to avoid the basic question. Why was it assumed that stars don't lose most of their mass as they evolve and cool and die? Why was it assumed that stars are always very massive, when clearly we have observations of stars that have lost almost all of their mass? We need to go back to the ancient Greeks and figure out that was where the problem is. 2,000 years ago, when they called old stars planets. Anyways, hopefully he mentions that in the talks coming up in September, post-September, maybe October and November timeframe. And that's just going to be a challenge that I think maybe if he's willing to address, the answer is already out there. Planet formation is stellar evolution itself, but hopefully he addresses it. If not, well, I guess my listeners will just be like a little dumbfounded as to how something as obvious as this is completely ignored, even by people who claim to be dissidents, which is, I guess, the name of the game in this case. All right, guys, take it easy.